Hello, elementary teachers. This is a video tutorial to help you through the steps of saving a Zoom link in your Google Classroom for this school year. I do need to give you a little bit of background information as to why we need to make a few changes compared to what you probably were doing from home in the spring. So I'm going to bring my screen back to my desktop and notice that in the upper left here where I'm circling, I have a Zoom icon. The reason that that is there is because I installed the Zoom meeting client onto this machine. In the Google Slide presentation that was in where this video is, I gave you the instructions on how to download that onto your desktop computer in your classroom. So please be sure that you go through that first and that you do see this Zoom desktop client show up on there before you go to schedule a Zoom meeting. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring up my Google. Notice that I have my sample Google Classroom here to show you, as well as I have opened the Zoom.us web client. So the difference between what I'm looking at here is that this is the web version, and where we want to launch our meetings from is the desktop client. And the reason for that is if we were to launch Zoom meetings like we did in the springtime, we would all be pulling off our Wi-Fi's bandwidth. And with many teachers live streaming at the same time, you can imagine that that would create quite a few issues that we don't want to have to deal with. We're hoping that everything goes smoothly for you with your lessons, and this is definitely one way to assure that will happen properly. So you'll notice that I'm starting to just schedule a new meeting, and I'm going to just name this Google Classroom Zoom link, and I'm going to put my last name there. And notice that I have clicked recurring meeting. So by default, Zoom will bring up your date and your time, which you may have set meetings for students by using that last year because you were kicking out several Zoom links, but we're thinking that it is going to be easier for you and your students if in your Google Classroom, they actually access the same link each time. And you will also launch the same link each time. So to be able to do that, you do have to click recurring meeting. Once that happens, your calendar and your time disappear. It does give you some options for the recurrence. And we don't want to choose daily. And the reason for that is Zoom has set a limit at how many times you can launch that meeting link and how many times your students can access that meeting link. It tops out at 50. So if you are doing several lessons a day, you can imagine that that particular link will not be able to be used pretty quickly. But if you go to no fixed time, that link will stay active for as long as you want it to be. So be sure that you choose that. I'm still going to have this meeting generate automatically. I'm not going to use my personal meeting ID because this in Zoom is reserved for you to set up really quick instantaneous meetings that you might want to be able to use with other staff members and colleagues through this time of distance learning in the hybrid model. So we're going to go ahead and keep it with generate automatically. Okay, and I usually put my video participant on. And I'm going to go ahead and save my meeting. And so if now I have all of my information. So what you want to do is make sure when you go to copy invitation, which you're used to doing from the springtime, notice that there is a password embedded in this meeting link. Video that you will watch as part of this presentation talks about how to make this one-click link for students. So that way they never have to input a password when they join your meeting. So when you go to copy your link, be sure that you highlight both of these lines, both the HTTPS and then this PWD stands for password. So make sure you have all of those letters and numbers copied, and you can right click, copy, or you can use Control C as your keyboard click command. So now I'm just going to come over and toggle to my sample Google Classroom. And last year, many of you may have saved your link for the day or the meeting that you were having with a student or students in your stream. I am going to ask that this year, for ease of use for students, that we save that permanent Zoom link in your classwork tab. Because if we put it in the stream, it can get buried with all of the announcements and assignments that pop up here. And we want to make it easy for our students to access it each day. So in my classwork tab, I created a topic called Zoom link. My suggestion is that you make sure this topic stays at the top of all of your assignments in Google Classroom. And just as a quick reminder, once you have more than one topic, you can just go over here to the three dots and move it up. So pay attention to that, because students will want to get used to just going to that top topic to get the Zoom link. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create material. A Zoom link is going to be material, not an assignment, because we're not expecting our students to turn it in. So for a title, I'm just going to put Zoom link for live streamed lessons, and then I'm going to add that link that I've already copied from my invitation. You can right click, paste, or you can do Control V to paste it in, and then I'm going to add the link. You'll know that you did the right thing and you copied everything if you see Launch Meeting Zoom right down here. It recognizes that it is that Zoom link, okay? And I'm going to make sure I pick my topic as Zoom link over here, so all your topics will show up over there, which you're used to. And then you know that you have the ability to either choose all students. There may be some times where you set up a Zoom link for maybe an individual student or a group of students, and you could set up a new link that way if you choose to. But for now, we're going to send this to all students so they have access to that, even if they're in the cohort that is in school, because we want to just make sure that all of our students, when they're home, can access this link, since that's what you'll be launching. And then I'm going to go to post, and you'll see that it has saved here. And if I expand it, it is there. This is actually where you are going to launch from each time you live stream a lesson, right from your Google Classroom. And I'm going to tell you why. If we go to launch this meeting, your computer will automatically know that it needs to launch from this desktop version. It just automatically knows. So when you go to launch your meeting, okay, and you open your Zoom meeting, you'll see that it is connecting. I don't want you to see me on the screen right now. It's a pretty scary sight at the moment. So I'm going to expand and stop my video for a second. Okay, so here we are, and the Zoom meeting is actually launched. What we need you to do at this time is to toggle back to your Chrome browser and click or close the tab at the top, because if you look in this tab, see how right now it's still pulling from the web. So we just need you to close that out. And then at the bottom, you'll see you still have that little Zoom camera and your meeting is still launched. You can start letting in your participants and your students and all of that from here, but the computer knew right away to launch from that desktop client. So that is actually a very important piece. So hopefully that helps explain why we need to do that way and why we need to remember to toggle back and actually close that Zoom tab. I'm going to close it from here too, so that I have no Zoom tabs open at all. and then I can head back to the bottom there and actually launch my Zoom meeting. And it's not taking up too much bandwidth on the school Wi-Fi.